The number of children considered to be obese has skyrocketed. 6 times as many kids fall into that category today than did in the 70s. The problem is so severe, a federal task force has come out with a report making new recommendations. Doctors are advised to screen kids and refer those who are obese to a specialized program. The federal task force points out obesity in children has been linked to the early development of diabetes and high blood pressure. The latest numbers show 12 to 18% of 2 to 19-year-olds would be considered obese.
First of all, kids are more sedentary, and they're playing video games, watching more TV. They're not getting out. It's not as safe to go run the neighborhood as it used to be. A lot more fast foods and eating out. Families on the go, and so eating more processed foods. So those would be the biggest factors.
When it comes to identifying which kids are obese, the new report from the Preventive Services Task Force relies on the BMI, or body mass index, which pediatricians can calculate on routine visits.
It's very clinical. When they go in to see their pediatrician, they get their weight and their height, and then their BMI is taken. And that BMI is the number that tells how much they weigh for how tall they are. And if that number is over the 97th percentile, then they are considered obese.
Once a child is identified as obese, the task force recommends doctors refer the child to a comprehensive program, which includes advice about diet, regular exercise, and behavioral counseling. The recommendations are based on more than a dozen studies which followed more than 1,200 children. Moderate to high-intensity intervention programs were looked at. Those with more than 25 hours of contact with the child and family over a 6-month period resulted in a decrease in the child's body mass index 12 months later. In fighting childhood obesity, the report stresses the need for an ongoing comprehensive program, something fitness experts see as having lasting value.
You can't just have exercise and you can't just have food. You have to put those two together. And ideally, I think the family has to be the role model.
When making those changes in diet and exercise, there are some basic rules, particularly when it comes to getting kids to be more active.
The new kind of recommendation is 60 minutes to play 60 minutes every day. And when we say 60 minutes of movement, we mean movement. That doesn't mean you have to be on the treadmill for 60 minutes, but walking, playing outside, playing basketball, raking leaves, doing yard work, going for a family hike or walk. So moving for 60 minutes. Again, doesn't have to be elliptical for 60 minutes, but it means to be moving that body for 60 minutes.
If you look at your child and wonder if he or she might be overweight or obese, there is a website which easily helps you calculate body mass index. You'll find it at keepkidshealthy.com. Just go there and search body mass index. Then by entering your child's sex, age, height, and weight, you will get his or her body mass index, and an indication of whether your child is considered overweight by the latest standards from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If you're concerned about what you find there, you should talk to your pediatrician, and you might learn more through a blood test which can measure lipid levels. A recent survey from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows 20% of kids in this country have an abnormal lipid level. For obese kids, the number was even higher, at 43%. It's important to know because abnormal lipid levels are a risk factor for heart disease. The CDC wants doctors to test lipid levels in kids who are identified as obese. And one final note about the latest research relating to childhood obesity. The CDC has just come out with a report on a simple way to reduce calories kids are getting in school. The New York City Department of Education changed its milk policy and was able to reduce calories by 6,000 a year and fat by 600 grams for each student. How did they do it? At lunch, whole milk was replaced with low-fat and fat-free milk. The CDC concludes changing school milk policy is a viable way to reduce calories and fat without decreasing the intake of other important vitamins and minerals in milk. If you haven't already done it, you might consider making that change at home, along with making sure the kids are getting 60 minutes of physical activity every day as a way to join the fight against childhood obesity.